I'm going to continue with substitution. We're going to look at substituting a linear into a quadratic. So it's not just a linear and a linear this time. So what I'm going to do when I substitute is I'm going to take the expression and I'm going to plug it into y because it's equal to y. This gives me 2x minus 1 equals x squared plus x minus 7. Because it's a quadratic, I want to set it equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract the 2x and add the 1. So I set it equal to 0, I get x squared minus x minus 6. Because it's a quadratic, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together and give me negative 6, and they add up to negative 1. And that would be negative 3 and 2. So what I have is x minus 3 and x plus 2. So my two answers are 3 and negative 2. Now, those are my two x answers. Those aren't my two ordered pairs. What I need is I need an ordered pair that is 3 and some number. And then my other answer is going to be negative 2 and some number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 3, and I'm going to plug it into one of the equations. Now the top equation looks easier. So if I plug it in there, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5. Then for my next one, I'm going to plug in a negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, minus 1 is negative 5. And so that gives me my two answers. Now for the second one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the x squared plus 5x minus 2. And since it's equal to y, I'm going to substitute it into the y. So for my equation, I get x squared plus 5x minus 2 equals x squared plus x minus 14. Now in this case, what I notice is that the x squareds cancel, so I have a linear equation. That means I'm going to get the x's on one side. So I'm going to subtract the x. I have 4x minus 2 equals negative 14. I add the 2. And I get 4x is equal to negative 12. So I divide it by 4, and x is equal to negative 3. Now, just like the last one, that's not my answer. My answer is negative 3, comma, and then some number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the negative 3 and plug it into one of the equations. If I plug it into this top equation, negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 times 15, negative 3 times 5 is negative 15 minus 2. So 9 minus 15 is negative 6, minus 2 is negative 8. And for letter C, I'm going to do the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my expression right here, and I'm going to set it equal to y. Since it's equal to y, I have x squared minus 2x plus 4 equals 3x squared plus 5x plus 10. Let's put a 10 instead of a 15. So when I'm looking at this, the x squareds don't cancel, unfortunately, so I'm going to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the x squared, add the 2x minus the 4. That's going to be equal to 0. And I do the same thing on the other side. I am minus the x squared plus the 2x and minus the 4. So that becomes 2x squared plus 7x and then plus 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for two numbers that multiply together, give me 12, and add up to 7. And that would be 3 and 4. Because there's a leading coefficient of 2, I'm dividing each of those by 2. And what that gives me is x plus 3 halves and x plus 2. Now normally I bring the 2 up and I get my binomials, but what I want is just the opposites. So I have negative 3 halves and I have negative 2. Now, just like the other two, what I want to do is I want to plug those values in. and get an ordered pair. So I'm not just getting x answers, I'm getting ordered pairs. So I have the ordered pair -3/2 and some number. And then I have the number -2, comma, and some number. Now, just to make it easier, I'm going to start with the -2 first because it's a little bit easier for myself. So when I plug in a -2 squared is 4. -2 times -2 is also 4, and then I have a 4 again. So that would give me a 12. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the -3/2. -3/2 squared is 9/4. -3/2 times -2 is a +3, and then I have a +4. So 9/4 is the same thing as 2 1/4. And so 2 1/4 plus 3 plus 4 gives me 9 1/4. And those would be my answers. So pause the video, try those next 3 on your own, see how you do. So when we're looking at this, what we're going to notice is that we have the x plus 4, and that is equal to y. So I plug it in for the y, and I get x plus 4 equals x squared plus 8x plus 14. I'm going to set it equal to 0 because I have a quadratic. So I'm going to subtract the x, subtract the 4, subtract the x, subtract the 4. These cancel. I have 0 equals x squared plus 7x plus 10. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together, give me 10, add up to 7. That would be 2 and 5. So I have x plus 2 and x plus 5. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for x. So I have -2 and -5. Once again, these are not my answers. What I want to do is come up with two ordered pairs. So I have -2 and some number. And then what I have is -5 and some number. So when I'm looking at the -2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the -2 for x. -2, let's do the red one. -2 plus 4 is 2. Then I'm going to plug in the -5. -5 plus 4 is -1. And those are my two answers. So if I'm looking at the next one, I'm going to do the same thing. I take my expression. Since it's equal to y, I plug it into the y value. And that gives me x squared plus x minus 1 equals x squared minus x minus 9. Once again, what I notice is that my x squareds cancel. And I get, what I want to do is get the x's together. So I add an x. And that gives me 2x minus 1 equals -9. I add the 1. And that gives me 2x is equal to -8. I divide it by 2. X is equal to -4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the -4. I'm going to plug it in. I plug in -4 squared is 16. -4, when I plug it into the x, is a -4, and then -1. 16 minus 4 is 12. Minus 1 is 11. Okay, looking at our last one. Once again, we're going to do the same process. What we're going to do is we're going to substitute the one expression into the y value. So I have -x squared plus x plus 1 equals 2x squared plus 11x plus 4. The x squareds don't cancel, so that means I have to set it equal to 0. So I add the x squared, subtract the x, subtract the 1. I add the x squared, I subtract the x, I subtract the 1. This right here becomes 0. I have 3x squared plus 10x plus 3. I'm going to combine the 3 and the 3. 3 times 3 gives me a 9. Adds up to 10. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together, give me 9, add up to 10, which would be 9 and 1. Because my leading coefficient is 3, I'm going to divide each of these by 3. And that gives me x plus 3, and then x plus a third. Once again, bottoms up, usually I bring the 3 up to get my binomials, but what I'm trying to do is find my x values. So I'm just going to do the opposites. And so I'm going to get two different ordered pairs, -3 and some number, and then I'm going to get -1/3 and some number. Let's pick the green for the -1/3. And let's see. Let's use the red for the -3 just to make it a little bit more clear. Now we could do the top or the bottom equation. I see the top one as a little bit easier numbers to work with. That's why I'm using the top one. 2, 11, and 4 are a little bit larger versus -1, 1, and 1. So that's why I use the top equation. If I take the -3 and I square it, that's 9. But because of the negative, I put -9. When I plug in a -3 in for the x, it's -3, and then I have plus 1. -9 minus 3 is -12, plus 1 is -11. Now the fraction one is a little bit more difficult. When I'm looking at this, I plug in a -1/3 and I square it, and that gives me 1/9. So because of the negative, it's -1/9. Then I have -1/3, and then what I have is a 1. Now, in order to solve this, I need a common denominator. So the common denominator would be in the ninths. So I would have -1/9. -1/3 would be -3/9, and 1 would be 9/9. So 9 minus 3 minus 1 gives me a 5/9.